Welcome to this explainer, everyone. If you've ever felt like building good habits, or let's be real, breaking the bad ones is just this exhausting, relentless uphill battle, well, I want you to know right out of the gate that you're not alone. And you are absolutely not lazy. We've literally all been there. You're staring at a brand new planner, or maybe a shiny gym membership, and you're just wondering why it's so incredibly hard to just stick to the plan. Well, today, we're breaking down the hidden architecture of habit and discipline. We're going to look at the underlying, invisible blueprint of why we do what we do. And more importantly, we're going to solve the mystery of why changing those behaviors feels like fighting an all-out war in your own mind. Let's get into it.
So why is doing the right thing so exhausting? It's a completely universal struggle, right? We all want to be healthier, we want to be way more productive, and we desperately crave a balanced life. But when it actually comes time to make the right choice, like lacing up those running shoes instead of just staying glued to the couch, it literally feels like we're fighting our own minds. And, well, that's because we actually are. Today, we're uncovering the biological and psychological antagonist in this story, because once you understand how this hidden antagonist operates behind the scenes, that is your very first step to actually outsmarting it.
Okay, let's dive into this. Pretty much everything you do on autopilot operates on what psychologists call the habit loop. It's this continuous, completely invisible cycle driven by three distinct gears: a trigger, a behavior, and a reward. Think of it kind of like a deeply worn path in a forest. The more you walk it, the clearer and easier that path becomes, right? It's a never-ending loop that structurally wires itself right into your brain, reinforcing its own existence every single time you complete the cycle. And the crazy part? You don't even realize you're in the loop most of the time. Your brain just grabs the wheel, leaving your conscious mind entirely out of the equation.
Let's actually walk through a super relatable morning routine to see exactly how this operates in the real world. It all starts with the trigger. Your alarm goes off, instantly initiating a specific sequence in your brain. You don't even have to think about it. That leads right into the behavior, which is pulling yourself out of bed and heading straight to the kitchen to sip your morning coffee or tea. And hey, if someone else prepared it for you, say a housemate or a partner, that removes practically all the friction, making the habit even stickier. Finally, you get the reward. You get that invigorating hit of caffeine and a pleasurable release of dopamine. You completely dodge that awful morning headache, you feel refreshed, and your brain immediately logs a message saying, "Wow, that was awesome. We are definitely doing this exactly the same way tomorrow."
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that triggers are rarely as obvious as a loud, blaring alarm clock. Your trigger for a habit, especially the ones you're probably trying to break, could be incredibly subtle. It could literally be a specific person who always stresses you out, which prompts you to reach for a comfort snack. Or it could be a certain time of day. You know that classic 3 p.m. mid-afternoon slump where you suddenly find yourself mindlessly scrolling social media? Yep, that's a trigger. Or it could just be an emotional state, like feeling anxious, lonely, or even just bored. Recognizing these unexpected, totally invisible triggers is absolutely crucial. They're the quiet, sneaky little starting lines for the behaviors you're desperately trying to change. Now, if you find yourself slipping up on your journey to change, I really want to normalize that struggle for you right now. The source material is remarkably clear on this point. Habit loops function a whole lot like addictions. Because they're so deeply and physically wired into your neurology, breaking them is just an ongoing, messy cycle. You're going to make headway, and you are absolutely going to have relapses. Just like kicking severe physical addictions to things like drugs, smoking, alcohol, or even junk food, breaking a deeply ingrained habit loop is almost never a perfectly straight line. Relapsing doesn't mean you lack character. Relapse is simply a biological reality of trying to rewire your own brain.
And this brilliantly illustrates the central conflict happening inside your head every single day. It's a literal tug of war. Your subconscious brain is the ultimate antagonist here. It actively seeks comfort, it wants to save energy at all costs, and it desperately avoids anything that even remotely looks like a risk. On the exact opposite side of the ring, you have conscious effort. Doing things that are genuinely good for us actually requires willpower. And here's the catch. Willpower is not some endless magical well. It consumes a massive amount of real physical mental energy. It literally burns through your brain's glucose. Choosing the hard thing is quite literally exhausting on a biological level.
Let's break down those default settings even further, because this is where the evolutionary biology comes in, and it's fascinating. By default, your brain is fundamentally designed for ancient survival, which basically means conserving calories at all costs. Just think about our ancestors out on the savannah. Burning unnecessary energy could literally mean death. So your modern brain still desperately seeks comfort. It avoids risks. It actively avoids making drastic changes in your life.
And most importantly, your brain shows this fierce, stubborn resistance to new beneficial habits. Why? Because to your primal brain, long-term benefits demand way too much precious energy right now for a payoff that isn't immediately guaranteed. And that ancient wiring leads us straight into a massive modern roadblock, the instant gratification trap. Our brains naturally, powerfully enjoy short-term, instant gratifications. The problem, though, is that these quick hits of pleasure are almost entirely the result of bad decisions in our modern world. We choose the couch over the gym. We pick junk food over a healthy, home-cooked meal. We binge-watch TV instead of reading a book. This natural preference totally traps us. It completely stops us from building good habits that actually offer everlasting gratification. Because those long-term benefits consume heavy mental resources, your brain just traps you in the easy, effortless comfort of the present moment.
Let's move to and see how this builds into our daily routines. Because our brain's default settings are constantly fighting against us, we have to use immense discipline to consciously override them in almost every important aspect of life. Just think about it. Sticking to a good lifestyle requires fierce commitment to your health and fitness. You have to constantly override those primal impulses just to maintain good eating habits. You need that exact same conscious effort for a balanced lifestyle, for actively managing your finances instead of just impulsively spending for a quick thrill, for maintaining healthy relationships when it'd be way easier to just check out, and for putting in the grueling hard work to pursue your passions. Honestly, choosing the right things is just fundamentally hard most of the time.
I absolutely love this quote from our source material because it provides such a perfect, humorous reality check. If it were easy, all of us would be flaunting a six-pack and would be millionaires. I mean, it's so true, isn't it? We all want those amazing, top-tier results. But if overriding our brain's intense desire for comfort was just a walk in the park, literally everybody would be walking around in perfect health with unlimited wealth. The simple fact that they aren't is really all the proof you need that this struggle is real, it is deeply biological, and it is incredibly demanding.
So the crucial point is that understanding what it actually takes to be great means completely redefining how we look at beating these default settings. Discipline isn't a punishment, it is your necessary biological override. It's the ultimate tool you use to hack your own evolutionary programming. It requires intense consistency, it demands a massive commitment of effort and time, it means making continuous adjustments along the way when you inevitably stumble, and most importantly, it requires compromises and sacrifices. You are consciously sacrificing that short-term instant gratification that your primal brain desperately wants, all in exchange for the long-term greatness that you truly desire.
And that leaves us with this final, vital question. Your subconscious primitive brain is always going to want comfort today. It will always want to save energy, avoid the hard stuff, and just repeat those easy, deeply worn habit loops. But what do you want for tomorrow? Knowing the hidden architecture of your habits and knowing that the resistance you feel is literally just your brain trying to save a little energy gives you the profound power to consciously choose a different path. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I really hope this helps you conquer your habit loops going forward.